Now yesterday, former President Uhuru Kenyatta had a very thorough interview with the press. Yeah, he met editors of leading media houses, and they were allowed to ask him any question they wanted to ask him. And indeed, he was very candid and very open with his answers. Yeah, with a few exceptions, of course, because this is a man who carries the secrets of the state. Right now, we are stuck with President William Samoei Ruto. And if there's anybody who knows President William Samoei Ruto and his moves, his possible moves, and the way he's going to govern, then it must be former President Uhuru Kenyatta. And therefore, I have decided to do a very intensive set of videos to analyze what former President Uhuru Kenyatta said. Because in analyzing what he said during these interviews, we will be able to understand much more what to expect in the days to come. Yeah? And we'll also understand much more what has happened in the past, because the former president talked about that too. Now what I will do, every time I post a new video, I'll post all the other previous videos in this series in the description area below. And when I finish, all the other videos, their links, will be in the description area below each and every video in this series. And then also I'll make a playlist. That's how important it is, so that you can be able to get all these very precious videos together without too much trouble. Right, let's get on with it. And let us start with a comment President Uhuru Kenyatta made concerning his administration at the time of very great crisis, at the time of homa ya mchina, yeah, the pandemic, because that was a very challenging time for many governments. There are many governments who reduced the salaries of their workers. There are many governments who immediately went into crisis in Africa. We know that. But in Kenya, looking back, we sailed through rather too smoothly compared to others. Now yesterday, the former president revealed that he would never have made it through the pandemic era of managing, governing, without the assistance of one Raila Amolo Odinga. Because, Uhuru said, his deputy had completely abandoned him. He said he would never have managed to do it alone. And he said that Raila was in fact God sent. Yeah, Raila was perfect. Raila was brilliant in helping him to manage through this period. Now experts will tell you his biggest challenge must have been financing. Okay? And we know that governments have secrets, any government, which can never be revealed. Especially when they go into a crisis and have to desperately search for a solution. So naturally, the former president did not go into details of exactly how he did it. But we know that there's a very big story there. Yeah, and a story which most probably may never be told. That is the nature of some of these things that happen deep inside the animal called government. Yeah, and this applies to anywhere on the globe. This is the reality of politics, the reality of governing. Let me just give you a quick example, yeah, to illustrate what I'm trying to say. When former President Daniel Toroitich arap Moi, yeah, had Western countries all withdraw their aid to Kenya at the same time, the country was in a very deep crisis. For starters, we had a very serious foreign exchange problem. And of course, the government had to keep running. The government had to find a solution, because without foreign currency, you can't even import oil. The country would have ground to a halt, which I believe was the intention of Western powers who got together because they wanted to get rid of Moi like yesterday. So what did the Kenya government do? With such limited options, enter a man called Patni. Patni was the link used by the government to purchase foreign currency from the black market. And to balance the books and hide this, there was something called compensation to exporters, a program that had been introduced to encourage Kenyans to export their products. I believe it was about 15% or maybe slightly higher. But my point is, this was what was used to compensate those who were getting foreign currency for the government at the time. Now, of course, that is not exactly legal. In fact, it's illegal. It is very fishy, dodgy. But the Kenyan government was desperate. And of course, that remained and remains a deep secret of the government. So it is important to be realistic. Yeah, it is one thing to have theories. It is another thing to be on the ground, faced with a crippling crisis that can easily bring your government down. This revelation also confirms that during President Uhuru Kenyatta's second term, it was actually a joint government of President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga. And indeed, the country was steered with a lot of wisdom, through what would have been very serious crisis that would have affected us all. But in the end, we hardly felt it. In the end, we came out much better than other countries from the pandemic and other major challenges that faced Uhuru during his second term. Now, there's also something else super fascinating here. During Uhuru Kenyatta's first term, he relied very heavily on his then Deputy President, William Samoei Ruto. And it is not hard to imagine that Ruto felt that immediately they fell out, the president was not going to manage alone. There was no way he was going to make it. It's not hard to imagine Ruto believing that firmly. And therefore it must have come as a great surprise and indeed a disappointment when Uhuru Kenyatta's leadership during his second term, even with the barbs and bobby traps being laid by his Deputy President, William Samoei Ruto, it must have surprised and disappointed him that Uhuru Kenyatta's second administration was even much more smoother than the first, which included Deputy President William Samoei Ruto. But then these things we're talking about are the least controversial that emerged from that interview. Even if you think they are a shocker, I believe they are. But still, they're the least controversial. And in the next sets of videos, I will reveal the other very mind-blowing, shocking details that emerged from this interview, very unique interview with the former president, especially what caused, the real cause of the fallout between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Samoei Ruto. Something that has been a mystery to Kenyans for years and a great puzzle and mystery. I will reveal that in the following set of videos. So make sure you catch them. Now, Weekly Intelligence Briefings number 112 is going to be out within the next few hours. And it dives very deeply into a very sensitive and controversial issue of what is unfolding right now behind the scenes in our country, especially concerning this issue of how President Ruto is dealing with Uhuru Kenyatta and how he's going to do it, and how Uhuru and family will defend themselves. I'd better say no more. So make sure you catch it. It should be out in the next couple of hours. In case you're not yet a subscriber, details of our latest offer, the other offer ended, are on your screens right now. And this is the last offer we're going to have, which is going to be below Kenya shillings 1,000. So please take advantage of it. Even those who have not renewed, renew your subscriptions. I believe you can see details. You've been seeing details flashing in front of your screens. Take full advantage of it. Until the next video, this is Chris Kumekucha.